Hi, this is Kalyan from Sai Solution. Let's talk about disease, infection, and vaccination. We practice a science called pure nature cure science, and we don't practice medicine. So this is very important understanding to proceed with this particular video, that we don't practice medicine. So just in case you are looking for some kind of treatment or remedy or to suppress your symptoms, this is not the video to proceed with. We try to bring an education that the natural cure is always from within. You can pause the video and go through this disclaimer, please. Now, to understand disease, we must understand innervation. Innervation is connected to the vitality. Vitality means the internal energy that we have, that we all have. Nobody can claim that the vitality is unlimited for that individual. So since the vitality is limited, we need to understand the conservation of vitality also. If we do not conserve vitality, we lead ourselves to a state called innervation. Let's read the slide. A state of over-engaged vitality beyond a limit when normal elimination, this is very important, normal elimination of toxin or waste is reduced by the body. Now, what is that normal elimination that we talk about? Now, 24/7 within the body, something is coming in that is being processed and the waste is thrown out. So, input, processing, and output. This is a common framework of our living. Now, this output is the question when we undergo, is in question when we undergo a state of innervation. Now, what are the outputs? We need to clarify this aspect also very critically, because there are a lot of confusion about the toxins out. So toxins out are two types of. One is the internal toxin and other is the external toxin. What does it mean? Now, when we eat any food, that goes to our digestive system and that gets processed through the digestion and assimilation. So needful nutrients are assimilated to the body and the waste of the external input is thrown out through the passing of stool. This is called excretion. This is not elimination. Elimination is something which happens through the three filtering elements that are lungs, kidneys, and the skin, through the breathing out, urination, and sweating. So we need to understand elimination necessarily means purification of the blood. That is the internal toxin that goes to the blood that needs to be thrown away. Now, what happens when we undergo a state of innervation? These internal elimination gets reduced at the first place. When we are in a state of innervation, this internal elimination, internal toxin elimination is reduced. And at the beginning, we don't sense that it is being reduced, because that's the beauty of our programmatic structure of the body. We never come to know about any problem unless it goes beyond a limit. So this has to be understood very critically. So initial innervation and the impact on the reduction of the toxin is never understood by any organism, because body programmatically tries to manage with the situation so that we externally we don't feel ill. Now, when the toxin is not eliminated properly, the elimination of toxin is reduced. That means the blood is containing the garbage. The garbage is not being thrown away. So we lead ourselves to a state called toxemia. Toxemia, let's read the slide here. A state of accumulated toxin in the body. Due to innervation, when the body reduces elimination, it retains and accumulates toxin in the blood. So toxic blood is the characteristic of toxemia. Now, So to understand deeply the phenomena of toxemia, we need to understand the metabolism also, the cellular level metabolism. So this particular slide shows how the metabolism happens. So metabolism is necessarily combination of two sub processes. One is anabolism, other is catabolism. Anabolism is nutrients is coming inside the cell. That happens through the osmotic process primarily. Osmotic osmosis is a natural process for which we need not to spend a lot of vitality. Now, when nutrients are coming in, so it's a 24/7 phenomena. Nutrients are coming in and toxins are going out. That's called catabolism. Toxins are going out. So these toxins are thrown away through the hydrostatic pressure that gets generated within the cell, and that needs vitality. So if we do not have enough vitality because of the state of innervation, that time the toxins gets accumulated in the cells. Now, this is the beauty of the natural phenomena, natural program. When there is an excess toxin within the cell, that gets friction between themselves. And because of the friction, a heat is generated. And due to the generation of the heat, the density of the toxin gets reduced. Like if we give heat to the ice, it becomes water. The density is reduced. So reduction of the density facilitates the elimination of toxin to the body. Now, this beautiful mechanism happens and we experience healing crisis. When there is an excess of toxin within the body, that time we experience a state called healing crisis. Now, healing crisis is commonly known as fever. That's the acute disease. And that is the difference between pure nature cure perspective or approach and the medicinal approach. Medicinal approach considers that the fever is to be suppressed. But in pure nature cure, we understand that the fever needs to be assisted so that the toxin gets eliminated properly. And fever is not something we catch from outside. It is an achievement of the body. Because of the vitality conserved within the body, only we achieve fever. So we need to understand increasing the temperature of the body needs a lot of vitality. It's not possible to raise vitality if raise temperature if we do not have enough conserved vitality within. So it's an achievement by the body. The fever is an achievement of the body. Let's read the slide. Healing crisis is the needful spatial elimination initiated by the body to expel the excess toxin by raising the temperature of the body. As simple as that. So acute disease is a boon for us and we need to assist the body to complete its process. And how we can assist? Assistance can be offered to the body by conserving vitality, because body is engaged in far more important work than other physical, physiological and psychological work that we opt consciously. So the assistance can be offered by resting, and resting doesn't mean just the physical resting, the physiological resting and psychological resting also. Physical resting is definitely going to bed and just lie down, don't work physically. Physiological resting is fasting. Fasting on water. Water sipping will not consume vitality or engage a lot of vitality. It will support the conservation, and whenever we feel thirst, we must sip water during the physiological rest or the fasting. So during fever, no food, and that's the indication. Voice of the organism also indicates there is no taste in the tongue. We feel tremendous tiredness physically and psychologically, so that we understand that those rests are important. And simultaneously, the tongue goes blunt. We don't get taste of anything. So that's a clear-cut indication that we must go for physiological rest by fasting. Now, here the conflict happens. Rest versus suppression. when we don't opt rest and we suppress the initiative of the body, the broad body gets chronified and a lot of chronic disease comes in. And we can conclude that the suppressed acute disease is the chronic disease. Whenever we suppress acute disease, we lead ourselves to chronic diseases. That's very important understanding. All these chronic diseases, so to say, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, thyroidism, everything is an after effect of suppressed acute disease. In our lives, some or other way, we have suppressed our acute initiative of the body. That's why body retain toxin within, and that gets chronified, and we have lot of continued symptoms without raising temperature. When the body is not able to raise temperature, but we have a lot of problems, that's called chronic state. Now, in relation to this, in our channel, you will find a lot of explanation about the stages of disease. I'll not spend much time on this slide. You can pause it and try to understand how suppression leads to chronification, and that goes from innervation to fungation, in other words, the cancer. And every stages of disease can be reversed by conservation. So there is a single management of disease that is proposed by Pure Nature Cure is conservation of vitality all the way. And we'll talk about the factors of conservation of vitality by end of this video also. Now let's talk about infection. Infection is infestation by the microorganism. And let's try and understand microorganisms are also organisms, and that also follows the law of nature of being attracted towards food. So whenever we have food in our body, microorganisms will be evolved or attracted. Evolved means from within also it gets evolved. It's not that from external only we can get microorganisms. So we can get infected with the evolved microorganisms from the cell itself. So just try to understand, if you keep rice in a closed container, it is tightened with the lid. Then also there are worms that comes within the rice. How that comes? It evolves. It stays in nascent stage. Whenever there is a right condition appears through the toxin accumulation, it gets evolved. Let's read the slide. Now, growth and infection is growth and fast breeding of microorganism in a toxemic body. So toxemic body we need to understand. In case of infection, the toxin of the body is food for those microorganisms. And these microorganisms do have a specific name as pathogens, and we choose to call these different with the different names of virus, bacteria, or whatever. So including the current understanding of coronavirus. So that corona need not to come from outside, it may evolve from within as well. We may choose not to name it as corona, but something. But infection is obvious if you are toxic. So infection is the effect. Now let's understand two cases, how we deal usually and what is the meaning of this dealing of the infection. We are toxemic first, the toxemia appears, and then toxemia leads to infection. Now, the moment we experience the symptoms and we identify some or other infection, we opt some kind of external shields. And that external shields definitely, because it's a result of reverse engineering, so that infection, the symptomatic infection will go away. And we become very casual about our toxemic state. And we continue the same lifestyle which led us to toxemia. So this toxemia will be retained, and that will come up with some or other symptoms that we will suffer. And that story will continue with the suppression. Now, definitely that acute stage is converted in a chronic stage. And the moment we are chronic and a lot of toxicity is there within, lot of further infection will come. And we may choose to give different names to that, H1N1, Corona, whatnot. We know the stories of the different namings. But the primary problem is the toxemia, which is unattended. This is case 1. Case 2 is little better in proposition. What happens? Toxemia, and we are infected. And we know how this has happened. And we started restoring our health by choosing a better lifestyle of conservation of vitality. If we conserve vitality, then slowly and gradually our health will be restored. Now, if the health is restored, the infection, the microorganisms will not find their food in our body, within our body. So infection obviously will go off. If infection has gone off, then what is the use of this external shields? There is no use of external shield, and external shields normally happens through a lot of chemicals also many times. So those chemicals are nothing but burden on the body, and which was absolutely unnecessary. Now let's understand what are the external shields here we are talking about. External shields could be mechanical and could be chemical also. So mechanical external shields is lockdown, social distancing, no problem much, because it will lead you to rest. If you have fever, you must rest. You must maintain social distancing, not to stay away from people, but to take rest, conserve vitality so that the body will recover faster and effective way. Then mask. Mask can protect you from dust, but not from microorganism for sure, because the microorganism can evolve from within. From externally, if you are protecting yourself from microorganism, if you are thinking that the mask is protecting us, this is nothing but a superstition. Mask can protect you from dust. Now, the chemical suppression, these what is called sanitizer. Sanitizer is definitely a chemical shield, and this is a burden for sure. Cleaning of the hands from the dirt, that can be used normal soap or an organic soap, which is non-chemical, and you can clean your hands or you can clean yourself. But chemically, if we are thinking that some specific virus we are just killing with this chemical, this is nothing but a superstition. Same goes for the vaccination. Vaccination is again chemically suppressing the symptoms of infection, or these maybe preventive, you may say, but that's absolutely unnecessary. Now, I cannot conclude here just by talking about disease, infection, and vaccination. We need to have some solution also. That what is the solution of this problem, this agony, and this kind of symptomatic problems that we suffer from? The solution is maintaining the internal hygiene. External shades are just for time being and a superstitious act and option. Unless we are aware about the internal hygiene, the health cannot be restored and we cannot achieve the natural cure from within. And what are the factors through which we can conserve vitality so that the internal hygiene is maintained and cure can happen? So you need to start your understanding with the innervation, the first slide. Innervation led us to the toxemic state and all these symptomatic problem. So we need to reverse the innervation. Reversal of the innervation is nothing but the conservation of vitality. Now these 10 factors are distributed into 3 domains. 4 in one domain, 4 in second domain, and 2 are in the third domain. So first is the input domain. In the input domain, we need to understand the primary requirement of the sunlight. The sunlight, the particles that we receive from the sunlight is the most primary requirement of the body. If we do not regularly access sunlight, then we deprive our body from those important particles. And that deprivation will lead a lot of innervation within. So to conserve vitality, we need to regularly access sun without irritating the skin. That's very important. Second important is the mindful deep breathing. For many reasons, we have changed our breathing pattern to shallow breathing pattern. So we need to be mindful about our breathing as much as possible. Deep breathing we must opt. The third factor is the needful pure water consumption. So responding to the thirst by sipping water, we are not drinking animal, we are sipping animal. So we need to sip water mindfully, responding to the thirst. The thirst that we feel inside, that needs to be quenched by sipping water slowly and mindfully, so that we don't overburden our body with lot of water because of different conditioning that we have to drink X liter of water. So there is no such natural requirement of X liter of water, but definitely we need to respond to the thirst as and when possible by sipping water continuously. So the thirst we sense, sip one gulp of water, then wait, observe the thirst. If it is there, then sip another gulp. And the best is if we can combine the water with food. That means a lot of raw food, fruits and vegetables which are palatable. If we consume those, no matter what the types that we are eating, like no specific fruit, but the fruits which are local, seasonal, and fresh, original, unmodified, ORS, original, regional, and seasonal. So you need to go to the market and pick up the food which are inexpensive. That's the seasonal food. So you need not to go for expensive fruits. And there is no matter if you consume a single type of fruit, a lot of quantity according to your hunger. So that will conserve a lot of vitality, and the body will get the needed natural nutrients. That's because the palatability confirms the voice of the organism. Modified food means we are bluffing the voice of the organism by creating taste and enhancing taste. So humanly enhanced taste is away from the nature. So we need to opt the food which are tasty naturally without any modification. Now in the second domain, we have these four factors. The first is the spinal integrity. Spine is the central axis of the body. We need to take care of the spine by maintaining our posture and care to the spine. So those spinal care, we can make some different videos also, because hydrotherapy is one way to take care of the spine. But those who are new to this concept, just try to maintain their posture as much as possible by putting equal load both the sides of the spine, while standing, while walking, while sitting, every time. Now movement is very much important, because the toxin elimination from the blood is supported by the lymphatic system, which is an open system, which doesn't have a pump like the closed blood circulatory system has in form of heart. So the joint movement creates that pump pressure for the lymphatic system, and which facilitates a lot of toxin elimination and conservation of vitality. So movement, if your day-to-day activities or engagement doesn't have much movement, then opt exercise regularly, soothing exercise without innervating a lot, but movement should be stretching movement, and you need to stretch your joints, move your joints on a regular basis. Sleeping. Sleeping is very much important phenomena. It's not a casual thing that the sleeping can be opted anytime, any amount, kind of. Any amount means the voice of the organism. If you require more sleep, you must opt for more sleep. But sleeping timing is very much important. Sleeping timing has to be as early evening as possible, closer to 9 p.m. Because 9 p.m. to 12 midnight is the darkest hour of the day. That time the internal repairing happens the best, because body is programmed to work internally when there is absence of sun. It is absolutely in relation to the sun movement. So the darkest hour is for sleeping, that we need to understand. Last in this domain is the sexual rationality, because sex is one of the primary existential aspect, and the sex also showcase the relationship responsibility and expansion of the self in a valid way. So if we do not opt sexual rationality, why sex, that clarity needs to be there, then we'll end up conserving a lot of vitality. The irrational sexual thoughts consume and over-engage a lot of vitality. We need to understand that. The last domain, the mind domain, the rational understanding. It was not only the sex, but every step of life, if it is clarified in our mind that why are we taking up this step? Why are we opting this decision rationally? If we are clear, we need not to answer to anybody, but to ourselves. If we are clear enough, we are conserving a lot of vitality. Any irrational decision where the clear whys are not answered to ourselves, we engage a lot of vitality, because the dissonance, if we are not clear enough and opting something, then there will be a lot of dissonance inside, which will engage a lot of vitality. Last but not the least, the mindfulness. Opt a meditation regime. The rational meditation regime will lead us to conscious inaction. The beauty of conscious inaction, the choiceless awareness, can appear through a rational meditation route, where we understand beauty of not reacting. If we reduce the instant reactions in our lives, we'll conserve a lot of vitality. Instant reactions always lead us to innervation. We need to understand that. So I'll pause with this in this video, and I'll look forward to your questions and discussions, observations on this. Thank you.